In 1 year, I saved over $5,000 in hay. If you're new here, my name is Brandi, and this channel is all about my journey with horsemanship and owning horses. In today's video, I'm going to be telling you a little bit about the Chix half bale nets. These are by far my absolute favorite product made by Chix. I'm going to show you how I feel is the easiest way to fill these nets and hang them. Okay, so I'm going to take a bale full and I'm going to put it on end. I make sure that my bag is nice and open. And with these nets, this is the original 1 3/4 inch net. You can also get this in heavy duty, and it comes in smaller sizes and one size bigger as well, but hole wise I mean. So in this particular size net, they come with fun colored ropes on them, the ties. But I just take it and I put my net over one end of the bale. Now I'm going to flip my bale over and do the exact same thing on the other end. All right, and now I've got those on. I'm just gonna lay it flat. Something to think about now is I always make sure to cut my strings by where the knots are. The reason I do that is it makes it so much easier to pull the strings out. And I wanna be very careful not to cut my net. That's always a bummer when that happens. And then I take my strings, pull them out. Make sure your strings go in the trash. You wouldn't believe how many people throw those on the ground. All right, now what I want to do is I'm just going to take my bale and divide it in half. One of these bags filled with a half bale will last a horse approximately 1 full day, depending on the size of the horse and how much they eat. I'm going to go ahead and pull my bag tight. Now, I'm going to just make a loop. I take the tail of the rope and I put it underneath like that. And I'm going to go around my toggle and pull it. I'll show you on the other one as well. I just leave my string hang, but I make sure to pull it nice and tight to the bottom. If it's not completely closed, I don't worry about it too much since that end hangs down. If I have too much, if my one half of my bale is too big, I'll just take a little bit of hay out, but for the most part, I can usually get it all shoved down in there. Okay, again, I'm gonna push down on that. My tail is the underside. This works just like if you're familiar with doing a clove hitch or tying a Makati rein, it's the same thing. So that's gonna go underneath like that, and then my toggle goes on there. Or it goes through my toggle. There, that's nice and tight. What I've done in this area is I just hung a few old lead ropes from the ceiling. And right now we have a lot of snow built up on the ground here, so they're a little lower than what they typically are. But these have, they come with these nice carabiners But with these clips here, I can do it either way. So really they can be hung just about anywhere, but it's just as simple as that. I like to leave my strings hanging down. If you don't like them hanging down, you can simply daisy chain them and stuff them up inside of the bag, but I've never had any kind of issues with them. And by just letting them hang like that, they really can't get tangled up in them. I don't see it as being an issue at all. There's several reasons why I like to use these bags. The number one reason that I started using these bags is because of the mud. We have really bad mud here in the spring and in the fall, and basically what would happen is I would put my hay on the ground for the horses and they would waste probably anywhere between 25 and 40% of their hay every single day. So that was becoming a major issue. I was losing so much hay and it was just costing me so much money because of it. Out in my pastures, my big pastures, I have a different system set up where I use either big round bale nets or I use hay boxes with the same sort of netting inside. But out in the one pasture, it gets really muddy where my hay boxes are. So what I did this year is I put basically just the 88-cent tie rings, and I put those on all the trees at about this high or so. So it's easy enough still for me to hang them and they're not super low to the ground. So that worked out really well because it kept the hay up out of the mud and it was a drier area for me to put my hay bags. So that was one thing that really was super helpful for me during mud season. These nets are great for all horses. The only thing that they're not recommended for are horned animals. Now, if your horse has shoes, the thing you want to keep in mind is the bag, if it's going to be fed on the ground in the pasture, should be contained by some sort of a feeder. So if it's a round bale net, you want to have a round bale feeder that goes around it. In my pastures, I have the hay boxes, which works out really great because the horses can't actually put their foot on it at all. I hang them from the trees. That works out really great, and horses with shoes wouldn't have a problem with that at all. And hanging them like this would make it so a horse couldn't get caught up in it. These half bale nets can also just be tossed on the ground. I have the full bale size nets as well, and those are fantastic. You just toss them on the ground, they're good to go. Something to consider is if you get snow overnight and have these out on the ground, you might lose them in the snow. So something that we've done and some friends of mine have done that works really well is to either attach a jolly ball or a tire or something to it just so you can find it again. The interesting thing is there's loose hay on the ground out here. These three mares are kind of on an unlimited hay diet right now because one's pregnant, one's old, and one's really young. So I put a little extra hay out, but there's extra hay all over and they like to keep coming up and eating out of the net. So I find that the horses actually prefer to eat out of the nets than they do just when it's loose on the ground. I've done that several times and it's really funny how that works. They always just go for it. Some benefits for using hay nets is it allows the horses to eat much slower, which keeps hay always in their gut. It's a lot safer for them and it's a lot healthier for them, and that's how they naturally graze. So for instance, my miniature horse Rosie, we just went through a recent situation where she ended up having ulcers and it was caused from a colic situation. But something I learned there is it is so good for them to always have hay in their gut because it helps prevent ulcers. I love how versatile these nets are. The thing is I can take these directly from my tack up area in my barn and hang them up in a horse trailer. I can take them along to shows. I can put them in the stalls. I can hang them up literally anywhere. They can go on the outside of your trailer, and you can clip them onto just about anything and pretty much at any height that you want to. The nice thing too is, you see the hay bags that have the big holes in them, and the horses just pull all the hay out of them. And then it's all on the floor, so if they're tied at the trailer, all their hay is on the ground and they can't even get to it. So, and a lot of times if a horse does pull all their hay out of their bag, they're just gonna step in it, poop on it, pee in it, it gets wasted. So with these, you literally have maybe between 2 and 5% waste, I would say, out of all the hay that's in there. They clean it all up. So if you have an aggressive eater, I would recommend doing the heavy duty net. Another thing that you can also do that has worked out really good for me, I've had all of these nets for a year or so, and none of them have gotten any wear marks on them or anything. Something you can do for those that are a little bit more aggressive with how they eat is you can hang them, and then it makes it so they can't push it up against the wall or anything, and so they can't really get as good of a grip on the strings as if it were up against the wall. Horses that have heaves, horses that have issues with founder, laminitis, metabolic issues, anything like that, the nice thing is you can take these bags and dunk them right in water. So if you just take a garbage bag, if you just take a garbage can or one of the like the 20-gallon water tubs and take your hay bag, you don't have to have it filled all the way. You can put less hay in there if you want, but dunk it right in water, let it soak as long as you need it to, and then just hang it up and you're all set. So it makes soaking hay so much easier than having to fight with it in a bucket and pulling it out and wasting it and all that sort of stuff. So I really like it for that, and I found it to be extremely helpful for horses that have those issues. Another thing that's really good, horses that are seriously overweight. So this size net that I have right here, this is 1 3/4 inch netting. For horses who are overweight or need to slow down in eating, I recommend the 1 1/4 inch. And that will slow the horse down drastically. This size here is not really necessarily a slow feed. They can eat it relatively quickly. But that's nice too for horses who are a little thinner, because they maybe eat a little slower and other horses eat a little faster, and they kind of all have to take the same amount when they're eating out of these bags. When they eat from these nets, they eat more like they would in a natural environment, and they graze slowly. And they graze slowly. So I've had a lot of luck with horses who are a little thinner. When they start eating out of these, they just kind of seem to go at the same pace as everybody else. Horses aren't able to take big mouthfuls and just gobble it up. They have to go at the same pace. So here's my question. If you use Chix nets, leave me a comment below and let me know what your favorite product is. Thanks so much for watching. Have a great day.